Hey, what's up, guys? This is Carly introing for once, and I am here with...
Justin. No, wait, I'm not.
No, let's keep it. It's good. No, I like it. You slipped up and gave your true identity. No, it's good. So anyway, guys. No, don't cut it.
Stop, we're cutting it.
Come on, I was in the zone. I was so in the zone.
Baby, what's the deal? You wanna watch Netflix and chill? Baby, I'm for real. I won't pull out if you want the pill. Baby, what's the deal? You wanna watch Netflix and chill? Baby, I'm for real. I won't pull out if you want the pill.
Hey, what's up, guys? Carly here, back on the couch, bringing you episode number 5 of the Netflix and Chill Horror Podcast. And as always, I am joined here with my buddy...
JP.
And tonight we are going to bring you first a review of the 2017 movie Clinical, and then we're going to have a little bonus review of the new Netflix show called Santa Clarita Diet.
Yeah, I was calling it Santa Clara Diet, which you will probably hear me do many, many times because once I have a version of something in my head, I just go with it. I'm
going to try to avoid saying the name altogether to not sound stupid the whole show, but it's hard.
Absolutely. And before we get into the actual reviews, guys, I did want to point out that we have a little announcement to make. Some of you guys probably already know, but we did go ahead and create that Facebook group page. So if you want to check out our Facebook group page, please do so. You can type it in the search bar, Netflix and Chill Horror Podcast, but more specifically, it will be in the links in the description below of however you find this episode, whether it's iTunes or on YouTube. And of course, you can find it by typing in the search bar www.facebook.com/groups/Netflix Chill Horror Podcast. And that should take you to the page. Join the group and join in the fun. We'll be posting there. You guys can talk to us about the episodes and things like that. And I do want to pose another question at the end of this episode that hopefully you guys can answer, and then we'll know what to do moving forward with the show.
And with that being said, now on to our first review, which is...
Clinical, from the year 2017. It is a U.S. production, and it is directed by Alistair Legrand and written by Luke Harvis. Do you know Alistair Legrand?
I do not. I do not know of that being a real name.
The only other film that I know that he did is a film called The Diabolical, which came out in 2015. I had a screener of it at one time, but I actually never watched it. I don't remember hearing too many good things. And
that's the only other thing he did too.
It is actually the only other thing that he did. And he co-wrote this film with Luke Harvis, who also written Diabolical with him. So this is a team apparently. Let's get into the film itself. It runs an hour and 44 minutes. It is a Netflix original, so it was made for Netflix specifically. And it, courtesy of IMDb, we have the description here. A psychiatrist.
You. Do you want me to read it?
Fuck
I'm
you.
sorry. It's okay. We can pull through this, okay? A psychiatrist tries to put her life back together after a violent attack by seeking to repair the life of a new patient, but he has his own terrifying history.
Fuck you.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yo, so anyway, as my bitch of a co-host was saying...
Don't be so buttered. It's okay.
But for real though, guys, this film is my pick. It was my turn to pick a film. And honestly, this was the only thing that I saw on Netflix that was a horror film and that was newer. Because I'm getting to the point where most of the stuff on Netflix that is, contemporary horror films are ones that were covered heavily in 2016, or they're films that just are bad like I know they're bad. There's a lot that are bad that I don't know they're bad.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to just move forward and only cover 2017 releases from here on out. And this was the only current one that I could find on Netflix. And you didn't have the Shudder app yet at the
Which
time.
I do now.
Which you do now.
Since yesterday, I got it.
I didn't want to pick something on Shudder in case we had to watch separately at our own places instead of together, which sometimes we watch these together, sometimes we do them separately. A little peek behind the curtain for you guys out there who are wondering about that. I think we might even mention that before, but yeah. So I went with this film, and it is it's kind of long for me.
Yeah, when I saw the time on it, I got a little bit scared because I was like, oh, it's late at night, an hour and 44 minutes. That always turns me off from a film. But I mean, if a film's good, like, I'm gonna watch it. It's just like when I don't know anything about it, I'm kind of a little nervous about getting
your
into
favorite horror film is The Shining.
Yeah, which that's like almost 3 hours.
Yeah. So I've said this many times, and I've probably picked it up from somebody else, but I don't know who to credit for it because it's been so long since I've been saying it that I don't remember where I first heard it. But whenever I watch a movie, the first 90 minutes are free. Like, you've already sold me the first 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. And anything after that, you need to pay me for, right? Because you need to pay off what's happening after 90 minutes, because every minute that I'm spending after 90 minutes, I need to be into the movie, or else it feels like a huge waste of time. And this one, and I'm gonna just come out and say it right now, I felt like was a huge waste of time. Now, I know you were a little more interested in it than me. Do you care to, like, go into the plot a little bit more than what the IMDb description was? Because that was kind of very brief. Okay,
well, basically, the movie starts out with this woman having a very bad experience with one of her patients, I guess, because she's like a psychiatrist. Originally, she was a psychiatrist for people with traumatic experiences, like car wrecks or like a death in the family, and like really
post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. And she was like the best there was. But then she has this really bad experience, and sometime later, I don't know how long, it shows that she's still trying to cope with it, and she's no longer doing that. She's like doing like easier jobs, like the people with just like mild depression,
counseling and stuff like that.
Yeah, and she's not really digging it either. You could see she's not fully paying attention to these people. But then simultaneously, she's getting help herself from a different psychiatrist.
Yeah, and the reason that she's not feeling interested is because she doesn't feel like she's actually affecting change. You know what I mean? She doesn't feel like she's able to actually.
She's more advanced in.
Yeah, and she's dealing with these people who are having like marriage squabbles, and it's like, get over it, weirdos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the incident that Carly was referring to at the beginning of the film is actually one of her patients commit suicide or attempt to commit suicide based on what the patient feels was misguidance by the counselor, which is our lead character. So flash forward a little bit, and she's decided that she is going to take on another serious patient when he contacts her and says that he heard that she was the best and he really, really needs help.
Yeah.
And what happens from there? The gist of it.
Basically, she feels bad for this guy. She doesn't want to do it. Her psychiatrist, is he's the one who's always like, no, you can't get back into that work. But she's like, she goes behind his back and takes on this new patient. And basically, the guy's face is real messed up because of a car wreck he was in. And he can't really piece together what happened. But she's trying to help him out as best she can to remember it, because she feels like empathetic for him, I guess, in a way. So like she feels a connection with this guy and just really wants to help, because I think she feels like it'll help her maybe.
Yeah, that's a good observation. Yeah. That's actually true. I didn't.
Because her main thing is she's upset that she feels like she didn't treat that original patient, the one from the beginning. She feels she didn't give her the proper care. She just loaded her up with medications and wouldn't listen.
She got lazy a little bit.
Yeah,
she was a
became
beast
the typical.
at this, and then she was just like kind of got lazy. And you know, these are all, when we're talking about this these are actually like the highlights of the movie. Now that I'm talking them through,
right?
Like I didn't realize at the time that there were these type of layered plot lines, but yeah, I guess there kind of is a little bit. And she's sort of hoping that by maybe rehabilitating this man, it can also rehabilitate herself and she can be who she once was again. Because if she can save this guy, then it proves to herself that she's capable of doing it and she can let go her faults and mistakes of the past.
Right. Which is why, like, I know you said it was, like, kind of dreadful for you to get through, like, especially with it being so long. But, like, yeah, towards the beginning, I personally didn't have a problem watching it. Like, I was interested in what was going on. And there were a couple, like, creepy moments at the beginning. Like, those shots where there's something creepy in the background or something creepy flashes by real fast. Not like a jump scare, but, like, something you almost would miss if you're not paying attention, and I love stuff like that. Yeah,
I didn't really find it too scary or interesting at all. I actually found it quite boring at the beginning of the film. I just couldn't pay attention, and I mentioned this to you that about 3 times I was like 10, 15, 20 minutes in, and then I'd have to restart it because I was like, I just didn't pay attention to anything that just happened. So, anytime there's a movie like that, and it takes me 3 times to get into it, that's a bad sign for me. And by the end of the movie, I told you I had completely tuned out, and I had to even talk to you a little bit before we recorded on refreshing my memory on what happened, because I was so out of it. And then once you started talking, it came back to me and stuff. But
once I started talking, I realized I too was a bit confused, and it was kind of like,
you were talking and telling me what happened, and I was like, why?
Yeah, and that's
then
when
you were like,
I choked. I froze
You're
up.
like, good point. Why did these things happen?
And then that made me like go back and think like, wow, this movie it was confusing. It feels like
the word is not confusing that you want to use for this type of film.
Okay.
You just stuck your tongue out at me. Why?
I stuck my tongue out and thought.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like fucking dick.
No, go on.
The word is convoluted.
Oh, that's a big word. I'm not using that.
No, this movie is 100% convoluted. Like, this movie, so many things have to, like, work out for, like, this story to play out. Like, it's just ridiculous. The whole story is ridiculous. Like, once the reveals happen, you find out, you're like, why? Okay, why do this, though? Why are you trying to get revenge? Or why are you... Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, okay, maybe you want revenge, but... Like, what did all this have to do with getting it? Like,
yeah.
Like, okay, so you're gonna try to do this, and it's gonna do what to the person? Like, it just didn't make sense. It's not your typical, like, like Pamela Voorhees, like, I'm gonna kill all those son of a bitches because they wronged my boy Jason. No, it's like, I'm gonna fuck with you pretty bad.
A lot of ridiculous efforts were put into it, I'll say that.
Ridiculous efforts. It's just... To me, this film was just really frustrating because I like psychological films.
Me
and
too.
I like thrillers. And I like psychological thrillers. And as some people would call fringe horror, I like that too. What you would call not horror. Like when I give you movies to watch and
they're on the not horror pile.
Yeah, and I'm like, why is there 2 separate stacks of movies here? And you're like, oh, because that's the not horror pile. And I'm like, okay, Goonies, that makes sense. But what else did you have in there? Spiral. Yeah, Adam Green's Spiral and Seven. And she's like, well, they're thrillers. And I'm like, have you watched them? And she's like, no, kind of, not really.
I'm gonna watch them. It's just like they're not at the top of my to-do list.
That's typically called fringe horror, which is like stuff like Seven, where it's like, I guess it's kind of horror because it's like a serial killer and it's like serious and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not directly what I would call a horror film. That's also like the Butterfly Effect I would consider sort of fringy. No?
I guess. I've only seen that like once.
I love that
I can't
movie.
really.
So Clinical is what I would consider horror, but more thriller, maybe.
Yeah, because like there was like two or three creepy moments.
And if those weren't in there, then it wouldn't be considered horror. Probably.
There was almost like dramatic moments in it, which threw me off. I was like, oh, this is kind of like a sad thing. And I was like, that's not usually... Well, I guess it is in horror when you look at it different ways. But it felt like it was being a drama on purpose. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but...
I was feeling like this movie had like a decent look to it. Like, to me, it had this almost like really soft lighting look to it, which I like. I like that type of lighting, and
the Christmas setting.
Yeah,
how about that?
It did have a Christmas setting. Now, it wasn't like full blown like snow and reindeer and Santa Claus and stuff, but
it was like a bad thing happened to her around Christmas time, which I like because that can affect your holidays. So I can relate to that.
Yeah,
like,
just ask Phoebe Cates.
I don't get it. Wait, Black Christmas.
No.
Wait.
Gremlins.
Yeah. We watched both those movies in one night. I've never seen Gremlins before that night, I admit it.
Yeah, but yeah, so you're right. And I do like that like reoccurring setting where it's like, oh, it just adds another level to the story where it's like it seems like a little darker.
Yeah.
It's set on Christmas. They didn't utilize it perfectly, but I definitely think that it definitely elevated slightly. And it elevated a boring movie into a slightly less boring movie for me. Like, I'm a hater on this movie.
You
like,
really are straight.
I didn't like it at all.
I thought it was going like I was not bored from the start. I was interested in what was going on. I was interested in like the guy and like the connections and like the girl at the beginning. I was like, what's up with her like seeing this girl places and. I don't know. I was interested.
Do you ever like stare at the fan for a really long time, like a ceiling fan or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what this movie did for you?
No, I'm just saying. Like, no wonder you weren't bored by it, because you can do things like that.
Oh, fuck you. Anyway, listen. Like, I feel like you're being a little hard on it.
No, it's a bad movie.
At the same time, though, like towards the end, like I was totally like. It was completely... There was one part that made the ending really predictable for me, and I won't, like, spoil things, obviously, but I was just like, I knew how it was going to play out.
Yeah, I think what I said earlier to you off mic was, I think you were into this movie enough to be interested in what could happen next.
Yeah, like
where
I cared.
You're like, oh, like, wonder what's going to happen. And then by the end of it, you're like, okay, well, that sucked. Like,
yeah,
that was
I was
boring.
very disappointed,
So,
I guess.
yeah, technically you were into it and it wasn't boring. But now when you look back on it in hindsight, because nothing really escalated, it now looks like a boring movie. Even though you weren't bored while watching it.
Yeah.
Because it's, on the surface, it's kind of a boring movie.
Mm-hmm. And I just feel like it took a lot, like I didn't feel much originality. It just felt like it took a lot of things that you've seen before in psychological horrors or things like that.
I just didn't give a damn about anybody. Nobody was interesting to me. Like, the most interesting thing about Clinical was the poster. I was just like, oh, this looks cool. It's like a woman's face and it's like splitting.
Yeah, that is cool. I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Reminded me of like Hellraiser or something. But I wasn't expecting Hellraiser. But I don't know, man. I expected a little bit more out of just the story. And I liked the way that it was filmed and the way that it looked. The music was decent and the lighting was good. But the story was just weak to me. Like, I don't care. And especially once you reveal why it's all happening, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I really don't care now.
And it felt like a Scooby-Doo type ending where it was like, oh, so this is why this all happened. And
this was my master plan.
Yeah, they unmask the villain and it's like, oh, you discovered it.
And there was even some things that we didn't quite get. Like,
yeah.
Okay, like, is there supposed to be a level of supernatural
it was
going on here?
There's really, like, it does not explain enough. Like, I was just left, like, I don't understand, period. I was just like, I didn't know.
It's really hard to talk about this one, guys, without like going into the final act, because pretty much everything that happens from the beginning of it, there's a cool scene at the beginning of the film involving that suicide. Really good blood usage, really good dark blood, and it looked like real. You know, it was
very gory to start out, well, bloody to start out with.
Yeah, like, it's one of those type of things where like anybody who's ever seen suicides or suicide attempts or something like that knows how it looks. And this is like, you know, they often in movies they kind of dumb it down a bit.
Yeah.
But in this one, I won't say it's like the most realistic suicide or anything, but it's like, okay, they're trying to make it look raw and not.
Yeah, it would F up a person to view it. Like, you could see why the psychiatrist was like feeling.
Well, yeah, if it's her fault.
Yeah.
But, or if she feels like it's her fault. So,
yeah.
That was cool. But between that part, after that happens, and then all the way up until like the third act of the film, like nothing happens, dude. And this is an hour and 40-minute film. I look at this film and please, for the love of God, if the director of this film, did Diabolical, if you ever hear this thing, how on earth do you look at that film and say, nope, there ain't nothing I could cut out of that. I can't lose any of these scenes. I can't lose any of them. It'll destroy the story. It won't add No, bro. 100%. You can lose 10, 15 minutes of this film. Hands down. It probably would have played better.
Yeah, I feel like the development would have been okay if the ending wasn't as stupid as I felt it was.
Well, what do you do between that time? Where that part where the chick commits suicide and the part where the reveal happens, the third act happens. What happens in the film during that time?
It really is.
She like walks around her house and shit?
Well, she's trying to help the dude. That's like the big, I don't know.
Yeah, she's trying to help him a little bit, and then he like shows up like sleepwalking at her house, and then she's like, "Oh, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't. I
thought that part was kind of creepy, where he's in her house, like because she's like living alone, and it's just like I'd be like, oh shit, I don't want to do that.
Girls are weak, so I understand why it would freak you out.
Whatever. I don't want to hear it. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I hate when directors, like I know it's a personal thing to you. But if there's not a reason for your film to be an hour and 40 minutes, don't make your film an hour and 40 minutes. Like, you have to think of the audience. You can't think of all the things that you thought of when you made that scene. You only think of the scene and what it does, and does it add enough to warrant the extra time. Yeah,
you are right. It was too long for what it was. I will agree with that.
And it's a slow film to begin with. Like, it's a character development film. It's a film that not a lot of action happens to build and build and build for this third act.
And what I'm saying is I did like the character development, and that's why I was interested. I was like, I wonder what's going to happen with these people. I know you said you didn't really give a shit about the characters, but I kind of did. And I wanted to see what was going to happen. But then once we get to close to the end, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't, this is going the wrong direction. I was just like, this was a waste of my time. So. Yeah,
definitely. It's one of those things where, by the end of it, I'm just like, man, I don't even know if I'm going to have anything to say about this piece of shit.
You're just
what did you like besides the things that you mentioned?
That's
kind of it, huh?
Yeah, it really was. I just thought it was building up to something different. It was, and building up, I guess there wasn't much build up. It really was just a psychiatrist helping another psychiatrist while she's getting helped by a psychiatrist, and then she has a boyfriend in that mix.
Yeah, which I was weirded out too. It's why? Shouldn't she have her license revoked if she's talking to the psychiatrist? She's mentally fucked up. Does she have?
It was kind of
is she able to do her job professionally if she is dealing with mental issues?
Yeah, I guess, like, the thing was, like, he, like, made her, I think he's the one who convinced her, like, dumb down, like, the people she was dealing with. But yeah, I understand what you mean. Like, she could be, like, on the brink of suicide and dealing with patients who are also going through that. So that's probably not healthy.
Yeah, she's gonna, like, Jack Kevorkian and them. She's gonna tell them to kill themselves. Anyway.
I'm dumb.
Man, when we seen each other today, I was like, wow, man, I'm so glad that I came up with a brilliant idea to do Santa Clarita Diet on this show as well.
Yeah.
Because if not, this is going to be a short one.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything else on Clinical?
Not really. You can't talk about the ending because it's a lot of spoilerage. So that's basically all I have to say. Like, I just did not care for the whole third act.
Yeah, man. I mean, so far out of all the films that we've picked, this is now my second pick. Third pick.
You did Sadeko, and then the first one we did.
I didn't pick Shelley. You did.
No, Baskin.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Baskin. Okay.
I only had 2 picks, and they were the pregnancy ones. That's how I know.
Yeah, and those are my 2 favorites so far.
Yay!
So, let's get into ratings here. Who normally rates first when it's their pick?
I think it's the opposite. I think I'm the one who gets to
you
go
rate
first.
Yeah,
like I said, going into this movie, I had high hopes. I thought, like, oh, this could turn out to be pretty cool. I was worried about the time on it, but, like, I was interested. I was not bored to begin with, but then even towards the end, like, I was still engaged. I was paying attention, and I wasn't necessarily bored, but I was more annoyed. And it had a lot of problems, like, just a lot of stuff that was not explained and a lot of pointless things going on. So I'm going to have to, like, I'm just going to give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Alright, so me personally, I fucking hated this movie. I didn't find it interesting in the very least. Couple things I did. I don't research these films before I watch them. At the very most, one of my friends, Dave, Brandon, Moods, Christian, Derek, Andy, Zach, like one of those guys might say like, oh yeah, that film Clinical is pretty good or something. And that's it. Just if I know somebody else said it's good, I'll usually watch it. I thought somebody said that this was, but I asked today in some of my group chats and nobody remembered saying that, so I could have been just tripping. So I don't research these things. I don't even read the storyline. Like, I didn't even read the...
See, when I'm picking the movie for the show, like, I'll read the storylines just to try to pick, like, an interesting movie, but, like, I didn't read the storyline for your picks, because I'm just going in blind for those ones. That's my way of doing it.
Yeah, that's probably a better way of doing it because, as you can see, what happens when I...
Yeah, you gotta do a little bit of looking into it, I'd say.
I thought this shit was boring. I didn't like it. 4 out of 10.
All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
So 4 out of 10 there. And, so then moving along here, I decided that this was just kind of spur of the moment. I decided that, well, let's just do something cool. Because the whole point of this Netflix and chill show is to talk about the new shit on Netflix and then chill.
Yeah. Right.
And, obviously Shudder and Hulu and Amazon Prime and things like that. So, basically, I seen the Santa Clarita Diet show came out. I knew it was coming out, and it came out, and I think it was even out when we recorded our last episode, but
yeah, it was actually.
Yeah, I don't think that I really looked into it at all, and I think I was in a Skype chat with Moods, and he said that he watched like the whole season already, and it was good, and I was like, oh, really? I was not expecting that, because it looked dumb to me. And then I was like, hey, I messaged you. I was like, hey, watch this show for our next episode that we record. And we'll talk. I don't even think I even mentioned that we were going to do it on the show.
Yeah, I thought you were just telling me, like, giving me orders to watch a show that you thought was cool. And, like, yeah, by that...
Yeah, because then you're like, oh...
That was awesome, man.
And you were like... And I was like, oh, I didn't watch it yet. And you're like, you didn't watch it yet? Why the hell did you tell me to watch it?
Yeah, why are you giving me commands over here? But, yeah, even by that, like, title, I was kind of like, I don't want to watch. This sounds... I had no idea what this show was even... Like, I didn't even know it existed. Like...
I thought it was just like I thought it was going to be a stupid show about, like, these people in LA who are cannibals and they have, like, dinner parties, but they're, like, eating people. Like, I didn't know it was, like...
Yeah, I just went completely
this.
unknowing.
So, with that said, let's hop into Santa Clarita Diet. It is a Netflix original TV series, made its debut in February of 2017. It runs 30 minutes each episode, and there are 10 episodes. It also is a United States production, and it also stars Drew Barrymore, Timothy Olyphant.
Isn't he... He's from Scream 2, I believe.
Oh, really?
I think he's the killer. Maybe. I might be wrong.
Spoiler alert.
Oh.
As well as a couple of other people. So far, kind of a small cast, but the description, if you want to go into it.
Sheila and Joel, a married couple, are real estate agents in Santa Clarita, California. When Sheila dies, their lives take a dark turn.
Yeah, so basically these descriptions suck, and to go further into it is, it starts off in Santa Clarita. What would you call like a high, like a...
Well-up neighborhood?
Yeah, like sort of a upper class...
Yeah.
Suburban neighborhood, white picket fence type joint. And it deals with this couple who, what would you say, they're in their 40s?
Yeah.
Late mid 40s, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then they have a daughter.
They have a daughter who looks maybe about 16, 17. Mm. And they're just going through their daily activities, breakfast in the morning. But right away I noticed something, like there's no even horror in the show yet. And I figured all the comedy would come from the horror. Mm-hmm. But the comedy starts right away.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very quirky. Mm-hmm. Like, the husband is, like, just kind of fiddling with this toaster. And he said something along the lines of, like, it's this knob. It just feels like there's a lot of give to it. I'm really disappointed in this toaster. And she's like, Did you email them, honey? And he's like, I wrote the letter and I reread it and it just sounded crazy, so I threw it away. And it's like this, it's just like, these people are have their, like, lives, like, just in these little bubbles. Like, they're in their own little bubble of their type of world.
Yeah, they're just being realtors, like, they got all the monies and they're like, yeah. This is what living is.
It seems like their biggest problem in life, their, like, inconvenience is, like, their knob on their toaster oven.
Yeah, I hope I get to that point in life.
Yeah. So right away, like, I'm already having smiles on my face at this show. Mm-hmm. And I think Drew Barrymore is, like, really good in this. Like, she has this sort of, like, just, like, quirky, like, sort of reserved.
Yeah, I've always loved her in everything she does, because she can do... Like, she could be, like, a dorky, like, teenager character, or she can be in a horror movie, she can, like, be a mom. Like, I just love Drew Barrymore.
Yeah. Lesbian.
Fuck you.
So, after we see them sort of just interact in the morning, a little character development, we go outside and see their neighbors who are, like, cops, and, like, one of the cops... Like, they start, like, talking shit on each other, the two cops... Who are like, one's like a
sheriff and one's just like a patrol cop. Like, he's not as important.
And so. They're like talking mad shit, and it's funny. And like, you can see that the main couple is like just kind of uncomfortable, and it's like awkward.
They're literally
to, like, keep the peace.
The dad's like, why did we have to like be in between the cops? Like, why do we have to move here?
Yeah. And after that, they go to work, and they actually both work together, which is funny. And there's just these awkward, like, funny moments. Like, the wife, whose name is Sheila, is, you know, introduced to a new employee, and then her boss starts yelling at her right in front of him.
Oh my god.
And he's like, just complete like douchebag about it. He's like, you need to close a deal. You know? And she's like, just her reactions are fun. I wish I had like direct quotes, but just her reactions are really funny. And then like, she's like awkward about it afterwards. Yeah. So they go to sell this house. It's a really nice house. And her and her husband are like kind of tag teaming it, and they have this couple there looking at the house. They're like explaining everything, and all of a sudden the wife just throws up this massive amount of vomit, like right in the middle of the carpet.
I was like shocked, and I just laughed out loud at that part because I was just like, because it, like how you said, it starts right off with the comedy. Like, the whole time I'm thinking, like, okay, when's, like, the horror part gonna come in? Then all of a sudden that, like, happens, and I was just like, oh my god.
You saying that's horror?
To me it is. It's gross. I was just like, holy crap, that's, like, a huge amount of vomit, and it's disgusting, and
yeah, like, sickening. This stuff would make freaking Linda Blair jealous.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
that's
Reagan.
what I'm thinking, yeah.
Because this stuff is, this isn't your everyday pea soup, you know, just a little projectile. This is like a goddamn ocean. Mm-hmm. And it's gross, and like it's all awkward because they're just like
she's like, no, I still want to show the house, it's okay. And
yeah, so she goes to the bathroom to freshen up, and the husband and the other lady take the couple looking for the sort of the house. They take them to all the other rooms, and like they'll just stop and be like, yeah, this has a nice wood finish, and then you just hear silence, and it's like like the wife just throwing up like crazy and shit, and then like it's just these awkward pauses. And I'll kind of, you know, not just do a complete walk through of the episode, but essentially what happens is the husband goes and finds her, and the fucking entire room is covered in vomit. Like the ceiling, the wall, the toilet, the shower, the mirror, the counter, the towels, like everything, the windows. And he's like, holy hell. And then he like feels her, and she's like not breathing, and she doesn't have a pulse, and it's like this sad moment. And then all of a sudden she like snaps into it, and she's like,
no,
hey.
that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
That's good.
And then they take her home, and she's acting really weird. She has a huge sex drive now. She's like a little more free-spirited and like careless. She's eating raw hamburger. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And any horror fan instantly kind of gets a hunch of what's going on there.
Right.
Because the scene where we think she died, or the husband thinks she died. And yeah. We kind of get the idea that she's a zombie now.
Yes.
And turns out she is. So they try to get help from the neighborhood kid who has a crush on their daughter. And it's not hidden from the family, like they know that she's a zombie, and then the kid next door knows, like, because they fill him in, and that's kind of his idea and stuff. And they don't like ignore the fact that zombies exist in this show. Like, yeah. They're like, oh, like, see, she's like a zombie then?
This is just happening now. How could this happen to us? Type deal.
Yeah. And meanwhile, you have, like, the husband who's, like, worried about his wife, and his toaster oven breaks, so he goes to, like...
Oh, I love the part in the store.
It's so funny when he's in the store, man. Because this girl comes up and she's like, hey, my manager said that you've been looking at the stethoscopes for, like, a really long time. Do you need help with them? And he's like... Now, which one of these do you think is like, like, do you think the dual action or the single action? She's like, well, dual action has 2. He's like, so it has twice as many then.
She's like, I'm 19 years old or something like that. Like, I don't know. I'm just working here. I hate this job.
Yeah, and then he sees that she walks up to him later in the show because he goes back because his toaster oven breaks. And she's like, hi, my manager said that you've been staring at the toaster ovens for like a really long time. Oh, it's you.
It's funny because it's like, a toaster oven versus a stethoscope. It's like a totally different thing that he's now looking at for a very long time.
Oh man, that shit cracked me up. That was the funniest thing of the whole show to me, was when she walked up and she's like, my manager said you've been looking at this toaster ovens for like a really long time, and I was just wondering if you oh, it's you. It's you again.
I just love how she's pointing out that the manager forced her to go over there too, like not even hiding
and that he's like looking at them for a really long time. He's like, just standing there staring at them.
See, that means the customer's confused, and that's when you come in.
Yeah. But, like, I watched these back-to-back last night, and I was so much happier with Santa Clarita Diet.
It shows in this review, too.
Oh my
I could tell
God.
you could not wait to talk about
I was like, dude, this show is awesome. It's so funny. Anybody who knows me and has followed my work for a while knows that I am not a big fan of horror comedies. Like, 9 times out of 10... I guess that's a little unfair. I just don't like horror comedies. Like, I've been on record, I don't like horror comedies. They're not my favorite thing. But I love when horror comedies are blended well and it's this dark, black humor. Because that's what it is in this show.
This is more like comedy horror. Like, I think they're, like, different in a way. Like, horror comedy, you think, like, focuses more on the horror, but then has, like, the comedy tacked in. This is more of, like, a sitcom that's, like, bloody and disgusting at the same time. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah, it's definitely heavy in the comedy, and I don't know, I guess you would compare it to like something like Shaun of the Dead, even though I fucking hate Shaun of the Dead. So
I've never seen that, and I really just never had interest in seeing that one.
I hate that movie.
I just hear it's overrated, so I really don't care.
Which is crazy because, like, I feel like I'm the first person that started saying that.
Really?
Yeah, like, I've been saying that for years before anybody else was. But anyway, this show is really, really cool. I absolutely loved it. And which brings me to my next question. Do you have much more to say about this episode?
Not really. I just love, like, it's comedy. It's not trying too hard to be serious or anything. It's like, this is what this is. It is a comedy with the scaries in it. Not even scary, just, like, gory, like, fun stuff that I love. So, yeah, I absolutely love this, too, and I'm glad you feel the same way about it.
Yeah, and by the end of the episode, like, the final thing that happens, like, I'm just like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This is cool, man. This is a cool show. And if it stays at the pace that it's going to be a fun ride. So my question actually, guys, is now we can cover this show. This is a bi-weekly podcast. So if you guys want, we can cover another episode in 2 weeks, or we can cover the entire series on one show. We can go and watch the rest of it, and then maybe even come back on the next show and cover the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Or the show after. But, in a short amount of time, we can watch the 10 episodes and cover the whole series at once. Or would you like it to be a show segment each show? I personally am leaning a little more towards just covering the whole show.
Me too.
Simply because if we were weekly, it wouldn't be bad to do it weekly. Cover an episode each week. But because we're bi-weekly, I just feel like it's too long in between episodes. And by the time we're done with it, the show's super old.
Yeah, like everyone's like, yeah, we get it.
So let us know, guys, what you would like out of that. And let us know in the Facebook group page. And also, if you are in the Facebook group page, can you please, if you're at all interested, maybe help us out a little bit to invite some more people in there, tell your friends about it. Because, like, not a lot of people know about the group page yet. Like, some people from 22 Shots came over and, like, Exploding Heads and stuff like that. But there's a ton of people that don't know about the group page yet. And I want to get that shit popping.
Yeah, me too.
All right, now, Carly, there is one other thing that I wanted to talk about this episode. We are a streaming-based podcast, so I thought this was of note. Now, I did not tell you about this or that I was going to bring this up, so I want to get your first impressions on it. Basically, there was a little article that hit the Facebook pages yesterday, I believe, and it is an article about Amazon Prime. And Now, this article is coming from thebloodshed.com, which I've never heard of. I've actually never been on the site once in my life, so I cannot tell you that, it is 100% legit. I can only tell you that it's an article that's been floating around, and I would hate to hear that this article was fake. So, I'll keep that, in my, peripherals to make sure that if anything comes out about it fake, that we come back and loop around and say this wasn't a real thing, or that it was out of context or something like that. But anyway, this article starts off by saying, I think it's safe. It's a safe bet at this point that everyone is familiar with Amazon and their service known as Amazon Prime. Among other things, Amazon Prime provides a good many of their digital videos available to stream for free as much as you want. Well, until now anyway. News started breaking yesterday that many indie horror filmmakers were having their videos removed from the Prime service in an apparent new policy on the part of Amazon, seeing the corporate giant cracking down on more extreme content. Here's an example of the emails being sent out to filmmakers now, supplied by Scott Schimmer in regards to his film Harvest Lake. Now, this is supposed to be an email that Scott Schimmer, the director of Harvest Lake, got and shared with either this website or another website. And this is the email. It goes, "Hello. Amazon Video Direct periodically revises our content policy in order to improve the Amazon Video customer experience. Effective March 1st, 2017, Amazon Video Direct will no longer allow titles containing persistent or graphic sexual or violent acts, gratuitous nudity, and or erotic themes, adult content to be offered as included with Prime or free with pre-roll ad. We have identified the following titles within our catalog which contain adult content. Harvest Lake. In alignment with our new policy, included with Prime and or free with pre-roll ads, offers will be removed from these titles on March 1st, 2017. For any title to remain available to customers with an included with Prime or free with pre-roll ad offer, its content including cover images, metadata, and or video content must be free of persistent or graphic sexual or violent acts, gratuitous nudity, and or erotic themes. For more information, please see our content policy guidelines with a link to those guidelines. If you have any questions regarding the policy revision and related action, please feel free to contact us. Thanks for using Amazon Video Direct. Best regards, Amazon Video Direct." So, that is basically, and there's other ones too. There's other emails that have came out that are talking about films like My Bloody Banjo, which sounds terrible, and the Science Team, which is pretty crazy. The article goes on to say, in other words, most horror films in general, at the time of posting, this writer is aware of not only Scott's film being targeted, but also the works of Dustin Mills, who, by the way, is a friend of Moods' and somebody we've mentioned on the podcast a lot.
Okay.
He makes on the 22 Shots, that is, he makes a lot of independent films. I own one of them called, her name was Torment? Was that it? Or Kill That Bitch? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But, he makes some gory movies as well. Dustin Mills, Drew Baldock, and several more. Note that these are videos which Amazon previously approved and are now doing a 180 due to the new policy, which seems to be aimed at making Prime more tame. It is, however, worth mentioning that the videos removed from Prime due to this new policy are, at least for now, still available to rent and digital purchase through Amazon's standard digital video platform. While sending these emails to filmmakers, Amazon does not seem as forthcoming to third-party inquiries as evident in what is clearly an ambiguous what's that word? Boilerplate response to such questions. This message was from customer service. This is another Amazon message here. Hello, thank you for contacting Amazon.com. I understand your concern regarding the availability of films like Harvest Lake, My Bloody Banjo, and Science Team in Amazon Prime. Please be informed the The selection of titles included with Prime are always changing. New movies and TV shows are added to Prime Video, and occasionally titles are removed. We're constantly working to improve our catalog to make sure that Amazon Prime members have access to the best selection of movies and TV shows possible. Thank you for letting us know that you would like to watch what you'd like to watch on Amazon Prime. I have forwarded your comments to our Amazon Video team for consideration. Your valued feedback will help us improve the selection and service we provide. To browse title currently available, blah, blah, blah. But why? I'm not even sure why they posted that on there. But basically, the full impact of this policy is yet to be seen, yet the early evidence points to the loss of valuable tool for indie horror filmmakers who would now have to censor themselves in order to have this distribution option available to them. Wow. So, what is your first thoughts on what I just read you?
It's like a major eye roll. Like, I'm so tired of this, like, censorship stuff. Like, you're not really... Like, I just don't see that changing anything. If you don't want to watch something, don't watch it. It's pretty easy to judge, usually, if something's going to be, like, gory or, like, bad for your brain or whatever. And also, like, that's, like, effed up for the, filmmakers, because they shouldn't have to censor their stuff. That's an art form. So, like, you know, if I were them, like, I wouldn't even want to be using that anymore. Like, I just think it's messed up.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about Amazon Prime, now, this is kind of funny because on one hand, it's probably better for the consumer in terms of, like, a lot of those movies on Amazon Prime that indie filmmakers are putting on there. Because there seems to be an easier way to get your film on Amazon Prime than, say, Netflix. Are pretty shitty. Like, there's a lot of bad movies on Amazon Prime. So, it would actually, in the long run, probably affect me positively more. But the very fact that it's censorship just annoys the shit out of me. Because it's like...
Just, like, put, like, a description or, like, make them, like, put a warning or something.
Well, if it's an unrated film, right? Like, it did not get approved by the MPAA, so it's not part of the rating system. However, Amazon Prime should be considered a tool for adults. It should not be a tool for kids.
Yeah.
And if your kids have access to your Amazon Prime, then it is your job to regulate what they're watching. You should not have to force the rest of the world to abide by the standards of your kids.
Yeah, that gets on my nerves nowadays. Like, everyone needs, like, a big hug, like, to be sheltered. And they think they want to blame, like, technology and things like that for, like, making their kids, like, screwed up in life. But really, like, I mean, like, I watched some weird stuff when I was young, and I turned out, like, you know, decent.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Like, I literally have been watching horror films my entire life.
Yeah, my mom willingly showed me stuff, and, like, she's not a bad parent by any means.
You're not going to turn into a psychopath because you watch horror films.
Yeah.
100% you're not. That's just silly. And that's another argument altogether. But the argument here is, what is up with Amazon now censoring what they're going to put on there? Yeah. And I just think that's ridiculous. Like, what is the point of having that service if it's not actually what people are interested in? And I feel like, where does it end too? Like, because that description that they said, like, what the new policy is very open.
Yeah.
Like, that's like any horror film can fit under that description. And if there's no room for horror films, I swear to God, I feel like most of the shit watched, even by regular people, is horror films on Netflix.
Yeah, that's definitely, like, the most popular genre besides, like, comedy in my eyes.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people, even on Facebook, who are not horror fans, just people I work with, like Sarah or something.
Yeah, everybody.
And like, what's a good horror film on Netflix? Like, what's a good scary movie on Netflix? Like, I see people say that all the time. Like, people watch that stuff. And like, if Prime is getting rid of, like, these horror films, and also, doesn't it then become very subjective? Okay, this horror film is on here, and this one's not.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, that could start some major issues.
That's like the video nasty era, right? The banning of horror films in the United Kingdom by the British Board of Film or whatever. it had no rhyme or reason. You look at the video nasties and you're like, why is this a video nasty? But A Nightmare on Elm Street is not. Like, why is The Burning a video nasty, but My Bloody Valentine is not? You know, it just didn't make sense. So if you're having Amazon Prime now regulated with like what horror films can go on there and what ones can't, like who's doing the regulation?
Yeah.
And by the way, all horror films seem to apply to some of those.
Yeah, you might as well take them all off to make it like fair, because like obvious, it's hard. Like it's all gonna apply to that.
I honestly think that it is more of an attempt to remove like the straight up, almost like over the top, like the ones that don't have anything going for them, but they're just like,
yeah, no like real stories, just more like blood and.
Well, I think just like a lot of the sexual ones.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I feel like it might be a attempt to sort of clean up a little bit, like disguised as like we care about people's feelings or something. You know, I think they kind of just want to get rid of some of the smut.
Yeah, which I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, like, but just say we're going to get rid of some of the smut.
Yeah, I hate this stuff where like you got to make this big serious speech like, oh, we're just regulating some of this stuff, but you got to make it look professional. Just say like we want to get rid of like the titties and stuff like that. Like just we know we're not dumb people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are a company. They kind of have to do things that way.
No, that's cool.
All right.
I'm just saying all companies shouldn't.
Anyway, I think we can both say that that's lame if it's true. So
yeah,
lame. Anyway, that's gonna do it for episode number 5 of Netflix and Chill. I hope you guys enjoyed. Did you have fun?
I had fun. Yes.
Not with clinical though, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
So let us know what you guys want in terms of Santa Clarita Diet, and we'll do that. This is Netflix and Chill, episode number 5. I hope you guys join us back on the couch. For me, JP.
And me, Carly.
We'll see you guys next time.
You wanna watch Netflix and chill? Baby, I'm for real. I won't pull out if you want the pill. Listen up, all you little cuties. I might call you over for a movie, but all I really want is the booty. 5 minutes in, we'll be naked and spooning. Next thing that you know, we in my bedroom. Clothes hit the floor. The head was like, damn, looking way better than you do on Instagram. We tried to watch Forrest Gump. She said she was bored. Let's hum. I said, bitch, I gotta take a dump. Lit some incense. Then we fuck. I called the renew, but we got 6 minutes for a quick little nooner. So thank you, Netflix, for the marathon of wet dicks. Baby, what's the deal? You wanna watch Netflix and chill? Baby, I'm for real. I won't pull out if you want the pill.